you guys wouldn't mind also recording it just in case something happens with mine.
Okay. I think it said request permission.
Yeah, that's what mine said as well.
Okay. Did you hit request permission?
Yeah. You want me to try it again?
Yeah. Would you mind?
Okay, I just clicked it again.
Yeah, let's see. I did too, and it's not. You're not seeing anything on your end?
Nope.
Okay. Well, let's.
Technology is great, huh?
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we're just gonna have to hope. Oh, here we go. Nope, nothing. I don't know.
Nothing.
Bizarre. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to. I guess we hope this will work. It should.
Cross our fingers.
I
Yeah.
tested it, so.
No joke.
As far as the questions go, don't share them with the other candidates running, just as a point of fairness for everybody.
Okay.
We kept them pretty tightly guarded this whole time, so just giving it to them would just give them an advantage over you. So
Yeah. Be
silly.
Exactly.
I just wanted to make that clear. So yeah, with that, we will get started. So the first question, what do you view as ASUW's primary role at the University of Wyoming?
So that's a question that we're really excited to answer because that's ultimately why we decided to launch our campaign in the first place. And basically, we look at ASUW as kind of like the union that represents all students' needs, all students' beliefs and ideas on this campus and advocates for them to the faculty, to the board of trustees, to the president of the university. So we really see it as kind of a means by which the students have a voice to all the people making decisions that are directly affecting them. And in being the representative student government of the University of Wyoming, we are ultimately their direct link to make sure that their voice is being heard. And really the most important part of the entire university is the students. It's everyone coming onto campus every year. So their voice is really, I think, the most consequential one in the long run when it comes to making decisions from the top down, and it really should be bottom up from the students to whoever's making decisions.
Yeah, and we feel like since each student pays equally into ASUW, it's really important for them to have equal access to us as representatives and to just have equal opportunity to have their voice heard in their student government. So.
Awesome. So the second question is, what are your tickets platforms? What actions have you taken thus far to support your platforms?
So our platforms kind of are centered around cowboy ethics and the Code of the West. But really, when you break them down, there's a couple main points that are key throughout them. And number one is transparency. We believe that transparency within student government is crucial because in serving all the students, we need to ensure that their voices are heard and that their representatives are acting in their best interests. And as far as transparency goes, we have an initiative, hopefully if we get the chance to serve as president, vice president, to really start bringing information directly from ASUW to the students in a kind of a simplified manner that makes it a little more concise, a little more, I guess, user-friendly, and ultimately making the ASUW website a valuable tool for students to come to where information can quickly be accessed, and using social media accounts as well to make sure that transparency is really key throughout all of ASUW. And second is, well, actually, Christian, would you like to talk about diversity? And
Yeah. So the thing that Bridger was talking about, we named that our CLEAR initiative. So that stands for creating lasting and empowering access to representatives. So as we were saying earlier, because the students pay equally into ASUW, it's critical for them to be able to have their voices heard. So one way we want to do that is by ensuring that they have the proper access to us if we're elected their representatives. So one event that we wanted to do was kind of a drawing of sorts. So if a student comes into our office hours to talk to us about what they care about on campus, we could enter their name into a sort of drawing for a prize, just to kind of incentivize them to get them into the office and get them talking about what they care about on campus. And also, he thinks it's important to do just regular meetup times or coffee and conversation times with the executive branch and the senators, just so students can come and sit down. And it doesn't even have to be talking about policy or what they care about, but just get them getting to know us and us getting to know them as students. So we think that's really important.
And then another key part of our platform comes by way of diversity. The University of Wyoming, as we know, Laramie is one of the most diverse cities in the state, and we really value that as a university. And in our administration, we hope that diversity will ultimately be one of the major things that we promote throughout every action we take. And we hope to use the POISE initiative, and it's promoting open, inclusive social equity throughout campus. And really what we want to do is continue strengthening ties with the directly collaborating with kind of what's in place right now, Dr. Emily Monego and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office on campus, and really prioritizing diversity through our actions in really everything we set forth.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that we continue to.
That's your 3-minute pass for that.
Okay.
Okay.
So the next question is, what would be your main priority to support student groups during your term? What is most lacking right now, and how would you address it? In other words, what will be your main initiative/project going forward?
So as far as supporting student groups, we believe that ASUW has generally done a great job in coordinating the funding and the, all the things that these student groups need. However, where we believe we can continue, and really our major goal throughout our entire campaign and throughout hopefully our administration, is to really make ASUW feel as though it isn't a club in itself, but it is acting completely as that representative body. And one of the things I'd really like to see with ASUW is more participation across the board, with people from different clubs, from different groups, from different parts of campus running for ASUW seats. I know that, well, the University of Wyoming, we have around 13,000 students on this campus, and ASUW had a few Senate seats in different colleges going filled last year. And we really feel like that's not because there's not people willing to serve, but we just want to make sure that people feel like they have a clear place at ASUW and understand the importance of being a student representative within ASUW. So really, I think strengthening all student groups will come from that continued collaboration between students and ASUW. So we're hoping that by next year at this time, there's not one Senate seat that is uncontested. There's not one Senate seat that goes unfilled. We really want every student to feel as though ASUW is a place where they can come, have their voice be heard, represent their group, represent their college, and do everything they can to act in their power as a student to make sure that their voice is ultimately the most important on this campus.
Yeah, and along with that, as we said before, we really just want to break down the barriers that students seem to feel exist between them and ASUW. So just make sure that they're respected and included at the table in all ASUW decisions.
Okay, so the next question is, many students are unaware of what ASUW is or what it does. With an average voter turnout of around 10 to 15%, what are some ways you will encourage increased civic engagement / student involvement?
And that's a great question. I think that sort of goes back to our last answer that we talked about. That really was our kind of what's so important to us and why we're running. We're bringing in an outside perspective because in the conversations that we had, kind of deciding whether or not we would run in the first place, that was a question we'd ask people. We'd say, do you know what ASUW does? And it's not that ASUW isn't doing great work. It's, I think, just kind of a communication barrier for some reason that I don't know why we're facing that entirely, but Christian and I have theorized that through more use of social media and through making the ASUW website kind of a more clear representation in easy terms of what ASUW is ultimately how they're serving the students. I think that that is what will bring voter turnout up, will bring people running for office up, because the healthiest democracies are the ones with the most people participating. And that was, that's a sad thing for us to see, that only 10 to 15% of our 13,000 students are voting in these elections or having their voice be heard. So I think ultimately by using communication platforms and kind of bringing ASUW's communication strategy, kind of vaulting it up along with a lot of the university does a great job with their marketing programs to make sure that their point is getting across, to make sure they're being heard. And I think it's what we're really facing is ultimately just a disparity in communication somehow between what students are picking up and what ASUW is putting out. And I don't know if I don't believe it's the amount of information that's coming out, but I think that the content of our information needs to be snappy, catch students' attention, be something that students feel like is a part of their daily lives, and help them understand what a role ASUW plays in their college experience, because they do so much, but I don't think a lot of students can truly appreciate really the hard work that goes into all of the functions on campus and what ASUW really means to all those.
Yeah, and in our conversations when we were deciding whether or not to run, a lot of students didn't even know that they paid fees to ASUW. So if a student isn't aware that they are directly contributing to ASUW, they're not going to be as prompted to want to make an impact and have their voice heard. So we want to clarify the budget a little bit and just make that a little more accessible for students.
Okay, so the next question, with some of the 2019 Senate seats either going unfilled or having no competition, how can you ensure that what the student body government does is an accurate representation of the student body's wants/needs?
I think really with some of these Senate seats going unfilled and with having likely an incomplete Senate in this upcoming year, then the job becomes ours to reach out to students, to really have our initiatives be based on gaining access to our students throughout every college, and really seeing what's on their minds. We need to reach out to them because clearly for some reason they're not coming to ASUW. They don't know for some reason. And so I think it's that outreach that's so important, to really get to every college, to really prioritize communication between us as an executive branch. That's where it would start. I mean, I think that the initiative needs to come from the executive branch. The Senate needs to be on board. Everyone needs to understand exactly kind of what we're trying to do, because it is a team effort ultimately, and trying to get people to participate in ASUW, that's good for everyone. So I believe that ultimately the challenge rests upon the executive branch to put forth those initiatives. And that's kind of, as we've stated in a couple of our previous answers, that's really our purpose. That's really our goal, to have people understand that ASUW is working for them, and that it's an institution that there shouldn't feel like there's a barrier between those serving in ASUW and those students on campus. ASUW is their institution. Everyone's a member of ASUW. You don't have to, the second you walk on this campus, you are part of ASUW. ASUW is here to represent you. And I think that really starts by leadership that understands that outreach and makes their decisions and makes their priorities based upon what students on this campus are feeling like, what they care about. And I really believe that starts from the top down.
Yeah, and that leadership just needs to be approachable. So Bridger and I don't want you to have to come to our office hours to talk to us. If you see us in Prexis or in the union, we would love nothing more than to stop and chat with you, just to get to know you and what you care about on campus. So if those Senate seats go unfilled, which they likely will, it's just important for students to know that they can talk to us no matter what, wherever we are.
And I think if we just have a second left, that a lot of people's understanding of ASUW is that it's kind of its own entity on campus, and that you're supposed to do freshman Senate and then be a senator and continue moving through, when that's not really the case. ASUW is here for all of us. We're all part of ASUW, and there shouldn't feel like there should be any barrier to participation. You can come to ASUW with your needs, with your wants, with what you care about, because we're here to serve you. ASUW is here for all students.
Okay, and the sixth and final question, can you name 3 specific actionable policies that you hope to pass during your time in office?
Well, as Christian and I talked about number 1 and 2, the Poise Initiative, and our, excuse me for looking at this, our Clear Initiative. We believe that through legislative action, those can really come to be and come to fruition through. We don't just want to be doing things as an executive branch. We want to pass those through as bills with the ASUW legislative branch, because I think that sets the clear vision. So in the Poise Initiative, promoting open, inclusive, social, and equitable UW, that really is something that will, I think, add value to the Senate and to ASUW as a whole, as well as the Clear Initiative, where that we understand will require quite a bit of action through the legislative branch and getting things passed, because it is a matter of kind of deciding how we're going to run the website, how we're going to ultimately present the minutes from the meetings, present the agendas. So that will absolutely require some legislative action. However, we are confident that we can have these things come to fruition. And then Christian, we had an idea for a constitutional amendment possibly that you'd like to add on that.
Before we go into that, another thing that we would like to try to implement in our administration would be a meal swipe sharing plan. So a lot of universities across the country, 1 in 3 college students deals with food insecurity. So that means they're just unsure about where their next meal is going to come from. And that's really the problem, because that prevents a barrier to learning and a barrier to involvement. So we were thinking that we could provide, because students at Washakie can purchase like unlimited or block meal plans. For those students who purchase block meal plans, but then those meals go unused, some of them, we could put all those meals in a collective pool and provide some sort of a stipend to Washakie for allowing students to do those, because those meals have already been paid for. And then on a need basis, students can come and receive meal swipes so they know where their next meal is going to come from, so they can focus on doing better in class and becoming involved and having their voice heard on campus.
And then along those terms, if we have 1 second left, kind of looking at the ASUW budget, there's $40,000 every year that goes to catering. And we feel like there's ways that we can really take some of these larger areas of spending, and if we have to somehow supplement some of the funding for these meals in this food swipe program, that we can find areas in the budget to sort of streamline certain areas and really add to that, to work with food services to make sure that not any student on this campus goes hungry.
And with that, you guys are out of time. Thank you for your participation in the debate, and good luck to you guys.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Thanks. You too.